Zombies can be dangerous for you, but not because of the zombies. Now I know what you're thinking. What the hell are you on about? Well, I'm talking about the environments that we put ourselves into each time we load into a zombies game. I mean, have you seen the dangers around? Broken buildings, fires all around the place, chemical gases in the open air? That's just to name a few things you must worry about. But don't worry, as your qualified safety instructor, I'm here to go through each map and rate them based solely on their safety. So to do this, I have come up with a not so complicated formula, he says sarcastically, identifying 21 types of hazards ranked between 3 tiers, low, medium and high. So I will go around checking the frequency of these hazards and giving each one a score, and at the end of the map I will combine these to get an overall score out of 100, where it will then be placed into a tier list and ranked against other maps as we go along. On top of this, there will be 2 additional tiers, which will be a miscellaneous tier for hazards such as dragons being on a map breathing fire at you, God, and safety, where if the map has any of the listed safety features, it will get bonus points to its score. Anyway, now that we have the complicated rules out of the way, let's get down to Nacht der Untoten. Hello, the safety inspector is here, just in the nick of time by the looks of things as well. I'm gonna need some gum for this because I'm kinda hungry. Right, where do we even start on a map like this? There's a lot going on to start with, but I think our main issue that I can see straight away is there are way too many tripping hazards around this place. I mean, you have got this massive thing here, you could fall straight over this. All this pile of rubbish and rocks all over the floor, that's a tripping hazard. That's a tripping hazard. That cable's definitely a tripping hazard. That massive sandbag could be a tripping hazard. There's a massive flickering light on the floor that could be a tripping hazard. And there's another massive pillar sticking out the bottom here that could be a tripping hazard. So I feel like we have discovered the first risk. So I feel like it's a good idea that we chuck on tripping hazards onto our checklist. It is a low rated risk, but I feel like due to the amount of tripping hazards that are around, it's going to be somewhere towards the higher end of the risk category of the lower tier. So I'm going to give it a 75. Okay, now that we've identified a massive amount of tripping hazards everywhere, let's try and avoid those and move on to see if there are anything else that we could cover. Now, one of the things that's standing out to me around this area is that there's a massive hygiene issue here. I mean, we've got lots of blood all over the walls, all over the floor. We've got people walking through it by the looks of it with the footprints. I mean, that's not good. It's all over the walls here, handprints. So people have actually got blood all over their hands now, which could contaminate even more stuff. And I believe it was all over the door when we first looked at it as well, which isn't good. Again, lots of blood all over the walls, splattering all over the floor. Massive piles of blood as well. That cannot be good for you. And again, we've got even more blood all over the floor. And if I'm honest, this floor doesn't look like it's been swept in a while either, let alone mopped. There's also dead bodies with axes on it. That is not good for hygiene. So this is going to be our second risk found on this map. Hygiene, again, we put in the low tier category, but I can't say that it is very hygienic at all. So it's gonna get a rating of 70. Moving on, I think I found another hazard. There are a lot of little bits and bobs like cans that are clearly rusting. You've got little shreds of rock everywhere. You've got broken lights all over the floor, which means there's glass everywhere on the floor as well. That is a lot of shrapnel on the floor. Now, there is, like I said, shrapnel all over the floor, the likes of glass and whatnot, but it doesn't seem to be causing a major issue. So we are going to be giving this, since it is a low tier risk, it's going to get a rating of 90. Not too dangerous, but it is still a risk. While we're here, let's just have a little box spin, see what we get. See if this can help us with our risk assessment. Oh, this could help. Oh, this could be a bit of an issue in the workplace. Fire inside a building. That's not a good look. See, this is what happens when you leave unattended torches everywhere. They fall and they break, and then you have fire. Someone could easily burn their hand on this. Now, whilst we do have 2 tiers of burns, I wouldn't say that these are big enough to cause high grade burn. So I am going to class this as a low grade burn, meaning that it's going to fit once again into the low tier risk. And it's not anything massive. It's 2 couple spots that could be easily put out. So I'm going to give it an 85. The next issue I have with this map is there are a lot of holes in the ceiling. which means there is a possibility that if you're walking around here, you could fall down. We don't want people falling down if they are busy fighting zombies. That could hurt them and cause them potential death if they get caught when they fall. Now, whilst this is a medium risk, what I am going to say is all these falls actually seem to be on this far side of the building. As you can see, they are all on the far side, which is actually, when we look at it, behind this door. And if we look closely, there is actually a sign on this door. I don't know how you pronounce it, but when you do translate this from German, it does actually say forbidden access. So it looks like they've already taken into consideration that past this point is too dangerous for people to go. So I will give them prompts for that. They have added in a nice safety sign and locked off the area. So whilst it is a medium tier risk, we're actually going to put this as a 60 due to it being sectioned off. Unlike the presence of falling though, I cannot forgive the overall building stability. I will say, okay, this bit's been sectioned off. We'll give you a slight pass on that. But looking at the walls themselves, I mean, like we said earlier, that's a column. So that means this part of the building isn't stable. And you're starting to see, I mean, this is starting to crumble. That needs fixing. The cracks in the wall here and the cracks in the wall here, they're massive stability issues. More massive cracks in the walls and the ceilings. They could fall down at any time. And look, this pillar is nearly gone. That's not good. That is ready to fall off. Massive hole through the wall. I mean, you could see it as open plan now, but it's not great. The same with this one. And this is just about hanging on by a thread. So I think we need to fix all of these issues here. So due to all this, I don't think I can give this a 60 like the falling risk that we identified. This one's going to have to get a 50. Good thing this wall is nice and stable though. That looks like a solid wall. And what oh, what the okay, we've identified the medium tier risks that we have to this building. Now we move on to the high tier threats that we have discovered here. Now the first one that I can see is this massive pillar that used to be here. Now I don't think I even have to say much about this because look at this dude. What has happened to him? He has been impaled by it. So you could fall off that and you could end up just like this dude right here. Do you want to end up just like this dude? I would not. That is an impaling risk which could cause death. I'm sorry, but that is going to have to give you a rating of 10. Now, the second and final high tier risk that I have come across is actually outside of the map, which are these barrels. They explode. That is not good for business. If you have explosives, that could cause issues. Now, these are outside and not accessible to the general public stuck inside this map, and because of that it would get a higher rating, probably around the 30. But I have also discovered there are live grenades just on the floor where people could walk. I could stand on one of these and set one of these off. That immediately bumps up the risk, and I am going to give it an overall of a 15. Okay, we can breathe now. We have gone through all the risks that Nacht der Untoten could cause us. So now we are going to go through and see if we can find any safety benefits to the map that could actually help the player. The first thing we're going to talk about is actually the safety signs. Now, we know we've had a forbidden access safety sign here, which is good. We also have the likes of electrical safety signs warning us about the possibility of getting electric shocks, which are good. And even though the barrels are outside, you can actually see they have fire warning signs on them, and they also have whatever this says, explosive sign, I imagine, from, you know, the fact that it says explosive. So Nacht der Untoten does get a +5 for their safety signs. Very well put out. On top of this, I did notice they also have gas masks in case of a chemical issue in the air, and whilst not specifically designed for the workplace, they do have helmets, and helmets can be provided to avoid any collisions to the head. See, once again, they have more helmets set up here for people, so realistically those helmets could cause any head injuries, which will also give us a +5 rating on our safety side of things. Taking this into consideration, that means the hazards are as followed. We have tripping hazards for 75 points. We have hygiene at 70 points. Shrapnel at 90 points. Low tier burns at 85 points. Falling at 60 points. Building stability at 50 points. Impaling at 10 points. And explosions at 50 points. now that we have all of this data, we can put them together and find out the overall mean rating that we get, which comes out to a 56.25. Now, we're just going to round this down to 56 because it's easier. And we do have, of course, our 2 safety additions as well, being the PPE and the warning signs, which give us 5 each, taking us from a total of 56 up to a total of 66, meaning that Nacht der Untoten overall gets a rating of 66. And that is it for our first ever Call of Duty Zombies safety check. Now this, I know, is something very, very different. And if you have enjoyed it, it would be great to know, because obviously that would mean that I should carry on with this series and make more of it. So if you want safety check to stick around and progress onto future maps, then let me know by leaving a like on the video. And whilst you're there, why not leave me a comment and tell me what could be added to improve our safety checks, or even just to say that you thought it was a new, fun, or goofy or even bad idea for a series. But that is all for Nacht der Untoten. Next up, of course, would be Verruckt. So hopefully I shall see you in the future for the next episode of this series. But until then, I hope you have enjoyed, and I shall see you in the next video. Welcome back, everybody. We are in the Verruckt Sanatorium, and as you know, it's time to see if this place is actually sanitary. Let's do this. So I think the first thing that we should realistically look out for when it comes to the sanitarium is its hygiene level, because let's be honest, it needs to be very clean and hygienic if it's going to be a sanitarium. And this to me does not scream clean. All over the bed, you've got blood. You expecting someone to lay down on that? I mean, I know we store bodies here, but come on, people. You've got to keep it a little bit clean before you put them in and take them out. Like, come on. I also don't think it's a good thing when your shower is dropping blood. Where's the water? The toilets look clean at least. At least we can give them that. But one thing I can't forgive is the state of this kitchen. I mean, look at this. Putting aside that is a human corpse up there. Look at the mess they've left on the tabletop. You know that's going to go moldy soon. And if you're feeding people this, then oh my god, I should shut you down now. Let's not even mention that someone left the fridge open. I don't want hot beer. I'm sorry, but we're going to have to put hygiene down as a risk here. And if I'm honest, I think it's got to go pretty low. I think it's going to have to be a 70. Moving on from hygiene, I think it's clear there's going to be a lot of tripping hazards here. I mean, you've got cables running all over the place here, man. I mean, this one's just going over the wall. Nothing covering it at all. And that's the main switch to power as well. You got doors and bricks that you could fall over here. That's never good. Plenty more cables running around the place. Mind you, I don't think it's quite as bad as Nacht, because there's no like columns sticking out or whatnot. So I am going to give it an 80. Now you could go around here and think that there is a lot of rubble which could be classified as shrapnel, but after going through Nacht last time around, I'm actually going to change it up a bit, and we're going to say that shrapnel is more stuff like broken glass instead of like rubble. Otherwise we would be marking that down on every single. And whilst there is a lot of rubble around, there's only a few areas like this one here and over in the corner here where I actually found actual shrapnel like glass. So whilst it is going to be a hazard, we're not actually going to put it down as a high one. I'm going to give it a 90. Okay, next up, I'm seeing this massive set of flames here. I don't think this is going to class as a low tier burn, if I'm honest. That definitely is going to really hurt. That's really going to cause you some issues if you end up in that. There's not really any other fire on the map apart from this one, which isn't as bad, but I cannot get over how big the other one is over here. That one's definitely going to hurt you more, so I am going to have to class this as a high grade burn. And as a high grade burn, I think I'm going to have to give it a 50. Now I'm looking around here and I'm looking at the building itself and how stable it is. I am noticing there are some, let's say, gaps in the walls in certain areas, like this one here. This pillar is definitely starting to go here, which isn't great. I mean, I don't think this was open plan beforehand. Even part of the roof's missing over there. Another part of the roof is missing here, and a massive part of the wall. I mean, the roof's on fire over there, which means it's probably going to burn away soon. This whole section here is collapsed above the fire, which is never good. And I'm pretty sure this isn't even meant to be a walkway. I mean, I think that's the main door in and out. So, you know, that's missing. And it does look like this is a bit of a patch job here, if I'm honest. Trying to cover up what's not looking so good. But whilst there are some issues with this building. I definitely don't think it's as bad as Nacht. I mean, when you look at the majority of the walls, they are pretty stable. I mean, looking at that building, yeah, it does look a bit run down, but it does look like it's still pretty much intact, which is good. I don't have a fear of it falling down on me at any time soon, is basically what I'm getting to. So whilst I am going to count the building stability as a risk, I am actually going to give it a 60. Now that pretty much does it for the medium tier risks in my opinion. So we're now going to move on to see if there are any high tier risks around the building and see if there's anything that catches our eye that could be potentially life ending. Okay, so I've gone around this map a few times now, and if I'm being honest, I cannot find any high tier risk around this map. The likes of being crushed, exploding, impaling, drowning, it just doesn't seem to be on this map. The only other concerning thing that I found was this massive water pipe that's burst, that's left a massive puddle on the floor, and as you can see, there are actual volts of electricity running through the water. Now that could cause electrocution, which could, I guess, lead to death. The only thing is, it is a medium tier risk overall, but because of the severity that it could cause, I am going to give it a 40 because I believe this is probably the worst risk that we have on this map. Overall, I'd say it feels like it's a much more safer map than Nacht was. I mean, it still doesn't look great, don't get me wrong, but it feels a bit safe. But there is one more thing we have to do, and we have to see if there are any safety measures in place to see if this map can get a boost. There is a warning sign here suggesting that you could get electrocuted from all this, which is good to see because there are little sparks coming out of this cable every now and again. So that does warn us. There's also another electricity sign warning here, which is nice. And there's also a sign here saying shock Gefar, which means risk of a shock, I believe. So we are actually being warned that there are potential hazards. And a nice big electric bolt that could kill us is actually behind a fence with a warning sign on it. So I think we could put down warning signs as a safety feature on this map, which will give it a +5. Although I do think that is the only thing that we can really add to the safety side of this map. I was thinking about adding in these railings, but since it has all of these like metal protected sheet things here that I think are meant to help, let's just say they're not really helping anymore because they're like completely gone. So I'm not going to put railings down as a safety feature on this map. That's for certain. So I think as a whole, that is the map safety check completed. Now, just to go over what we found, the hazards that were spotted out were hygiene with a rating of 70, tripping hazards with a rating of 80, shrapnel with a rating of 90, high-grade burns with a rating of 50, building stability with a rating of 60, and our lowest rating of them all, electrocution, with a rating of 40. Now, if we put all of those risks together and we get the mean number again, Verruckt actually comes out with a rating of 65 out of 100. But, of course, we do have our one safety addition to add to this, which was the warning signs, which gives us a +5, meaning that overall, Verruckt gets a total rating of 70 out of 100. This means that now we have two maps. Verruckt takes first place on the safety rating list, which means in theory, as of now, Verruckt is the safest map in Call of Duty that we've ranked so far. Not hard when there's only two maps done so far. Hey there, this is future me recording the video, and I forgot to put in the new tier list for this series. So here it is. This is what we're going off. We have got 6 different categories here. Top tier being above standards with a rating of 90 to 100. Safe being our second tier with a rating of 80 to 89. Borderline okay being our third tier with 70 to 79. Needs work being our fourth tier with 60 to 69. At risk being our second lowest tier at 40 to 59, and shutdown being our lowest tier, ranking between 1 and 39. Now, last week, Nacht der Untoten ranked in the needs work category, and this week, Verruckt, of course, ranks in the borderline okay category. Back to the video. But the question is, will that change in the future? If you want to see if that will change in the future, and you want to see more of these maps being ranked via their safety, then let me know by leaving a like on this video. Apart from that, if you do want to watch more content, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I hope you'll have a good time, and I'll see you in the next video. Hello everybody, welcome back to the third installment of Safety Check. And today we have none other than Shi No Numa. Now, before we've even loaded up the map, I noticed the mission briefing for this already signals some red flags. Let's just have a look at this. the mission briefing for Shi No Numa reads: maggot-ridden corpses, bug-infested swamp, hundreds of undead Imperial army. Choose your tactic and defend for your lives. Now, maggot-ridden corpses and bug-infested swamps don't sound very safe to me, but of course we gotta go check it out. So let's get into it. Here we go, Shi No Numa, and oh my god, what is that smell? Oh, safety is off to a very good start here, adding a beep effect. But in all seriousness, you can't really have a guy hanging from the roof. That's not a good start to any safety check. But we'll come back to you later, little guy. The first thing I want to do, like every other time, is go through the initial low tier risks and make our way up to the high tier ones. So we're going to first pick out any low tier risks that we can find around this map. Now, the first thing I'm thinking from the get-go is definitely the hygiene. And I feel like that's going to be a common factor in a lot of these zombies maps, because let's be honest, we're fighting the undead here. But we have the usual suspects, you know, we've got blood all over the floor, which is never a good start. I mean, look, you just got fruit kind of laying about everywhere. It's already starting to turn brown, which isn't a good thing. Obviously means that it's not being kept very well. And you can see in loads of different areas, you've got loads of like flies and bugs that are drawn in by the dirt, which is never good. Now, obviously, that is going to be a bit more natural because of the area we're in. But I mean, when you can see them around your food as well, that's never good, especially when you like already cut up your food as well. But it just means that all this food that's not stored properly is also going to be going rotten because, you know, there's flies all over them. And even worse, you got dead corpses just rotting away, just chilling out here. I mean, I know this is meant to be the doctor's quarters, but when you think of it, doctor's quarters, you know, are meant to be hygienic. They're not meant to look like this. I mean, for goodness sake, you've literally got rotting corpses on the operation tables. They're even on the floor, just piling up, causing them to rot, to attract bugs and flies. It's just going to get worse and worse. And look, I was talking about the food. I mean, you've got fish just out in the open. They're going to rot so quickly and so easily. And you can already tell because all the maggots and flies they're attracting. Again, look at them all. This is not hygienic in the slightest. So to me, the hygiene levels are definitely low, which isn't a good start. But realistically, I can't see myself putting hygiene any higher than the minimum, which is 70. Now, apart from hygiene, the only other low tier risks that I can kind of really identify is the possibility of being burnt. Now, when you look at the top of this building, you can see there is fire going on here. And what is that building made out of? It's made out of wood and hay, mainly. Which, when it comes to fire, don't really mix. Now, for the amount of fire that there actually is, you could say that that is actually high-grade burn possibility. But it is all on the roof mainly, meaning that it's not actually getting to us as it stands. So whilst it is a high chance of burning us if it did actually catch us, there's actually no way for us to get hurt by it on the map as it stands. I mean, you can try jump up to it, but you might just warm your hair up a bit, if anything. Apart from that, you're not really being affected by the fire. So I am going to put it down as a low tier risk, but I'm going to put it fairly high because, let's be honest, it's not really affecting us that much. So for that reason, I'm going to give low tier burns an overall rating of 95. Now, for the final low tier threat, it's actually going to be equipment. And now, when you think of equipment, it can be a few different things. But in this situation, equipment is actually going to be the use of these traps. Now, I know traps are kind of built in and you have to activate them. And for that reason, we're going to put them specifically to one type. And it's going to be the type that can hurt you. So when you think of like machine guns in Kino, they can't hurt you. But ones like this, if you do get caught by it, let's be honest, that's going to hurt you. I mean, look at it. It's a massive log with spikes on it. I mean, that hits me and that hurts. And like I said, that does hurt, but it doesn't do much damage. And at the end of the day, you have to be pretty idiotic to actually run through it. So for that reason, I'm going to give it an 80. Now, I think that's going to do it for the low tier risks. So now we're going to move on and see if we can identify any medium tier risks. Now, looking through the list, electrocution isn't going to be an issue. Falling isn't going to be an issue. High-grade burns isn't going to be an issue. There's also going to be no issue when it comes to suffocation, machinery, or vehicle. So straight away, it's not looking terrible when it comes to the medium tier risk. But one thing I do want to look at is the building stability. Now, like we said earlier, this building's on fire, which isn't great. And when you look, there are chunks of wood everywhere on the floor, which means the building is falling apart. That's, of course, never a good start. We move on to the next outhouse. You can once again see the roof has collapsed on us. I mean, this doesn't look like it's built very well. Let's be honest. The comms room looks like it's struggling. Inside doesn't look terrible, but I mean, look at the state of the roof. This thing's hanging on by a thread. I mean, this thing's basically collapsed here, and you know, that's not going to cover you. Also, a lot of these walkways are broken, which isn't good. I know it's technically not a building, but you know, it's part of our walkway, which is quite vital. I mean, that's literally just hanging on there by a thread. The main building itself isn't too bad, mind you. I think there's a little bit of a door missing there. The roof is missing on the top, which is a bit of an issue. We've got a little hole here as well, which we can peep through. And to be honest, well, there's loads of planks falling down, a little bit from the roof, I imagine. The doctor's quarters doesn't look terrible, he says as he walks into this room and realizes half the roof has collapsed onto the floor. So I might take that back a little bit. But like I said, compared to the likes of some of the things we saw in Verruckt and Nacht, it's not terrible overall. So I'm going to give, which is probably going to be our only medium tier risk from this map, building stability is going to get an overall of 50. Okay, before we do move on to the high tier risk, there is actually something else I thought of. And that thought came to me when I was just thinking about the traps, specifically the flogger. But what I forgot was that there's actually different types of traps on this map. And each one of these huts actually has electric trap. You know, big bolts of electric that could hurt you. Now, as you can see, that hurts. If you don't have Jug, you're going down, which is never good for you. So because of this, we are going to have to put it as a fairly dangerous risk. Now, like I said, if you have Jug, you'll survive it. If you only have Quick Revive, you're getting downed. If you don't have Quick Revive, you're dead. So it's a fairly dangerous one, in my opinion. And for that reason, I'm going to have to give it a 40. Okay, now we move on to the high tier risk. Now, I don't think there's any chance of explosions going on around here. And apart from the flogger that has really small spikes, there isn't going to be any situations where we're going to get impaled. Let's be honest. But one thing that there is plenty of in Shi No Numa is water. I mean, you go outside any direction, you have got an abundance of water. And now, whilst it might not be the deepest of waters, there's still plenty of it. I mean, it goes up to my knees, which, you know, isn't massively deep in itself. And now, whilst it's not deep, you can actually drown in quite small amounts of water. Smaller than what we have going on around these swamps. Plus, I don't even know what could be in these swamps, which could be another hazard in themselves. But because I can't actually see anything, I'm going to just go with drowning. Now, this is a high tier risk, so we can rank it anywhere between 1 and 30. And whilst drowning can be very, very deadly, I'm not going to put it too low down because of the height of the water. So I'm actually going to give it a 15, solely because it only goes up to my knees. It's a kind of situation where you can drown if you're silly, but realistically, you shouldn't be silly. So this is going to get a 50. Now that we've got drowning out of the way, there is one final risk that I'm taking into consideration, and that is go back to what we originally saw when we first entered this map, and it's our good old friend that's been hanging around here for quite some time. Now, all I'm saying is, if this guy falls on you, he's going to crush you to death, isn't he now? Their bodies are pretty heavy, let's be honest. If this thing fell on you, it's really, really going to hurt. And I don't know if any of you've seen, but there's actually a speed run for this, where if this body's moving enough, it can actually kill you. So being crushed is a real risk here. And for that reason, I'm going to give it a 15. Because whilst it could kill you, you might be able to survive being crushed from that height. There is a chance. And that to me is every single thing that could be a risk in Shi No Numa. Now we look for safety. Now the first thing I'm noticing on this is there's actually a lot of railings around the main building, which is nice. I mean, this thing's covered off, so you can't just jump over here as well, which is handy. Safety railings, none of them are broken, which is really nice. And even around the outer parts of the map, everything is cordoned off. Even the walkways are cordoned off. So I'm willing to give Shi No Numa a +5 for safety railings. Now there is some sort of flammable sign here that I can see, but realistically, there's nothing inside this shed that suggests that there's anything that would be flammable. So I'm not really sure why it's there. And if I'm honest, I can't read whatever this writing is. And unfortunately, I wouldn't even know how to translate it. So I can't even tell if it's meant to be like an explosive shed or something. If there is someone watching the video that knows what that means, then by all means, please do tell me, because it would help doing the safety check. But apart from that, there are no other safety signs. There's no PPE and there's no fire safety. So I don't think I can justify giving it anything else apart from railing. So saying that, I think we have concluded all of the risks and safety features that Shi No Numa has. And just to recap, we have a total of 7 hazards, which are hygiene at 70, low tier burns at 95, equipment at 80, building stability at 50, electrocution at 40, drowning at 15, and being crushed at 15. Now, when we put all of these scores together, we do actually get a mean total of 52, which actually puts it quite low. But of course, we do have the safety railings to add in, which is a +5 overall, which puts it up to a 57 out of 100 in total. Overall, still not great on the safety side. But I guess, what can you expect when you are in a swamp? But with an overall rating of 57 out of 100, that does mean Shi No Numa is just about in the at-risk column. With a 57, it just goes under the threshold, which is 59 out of 100. So this is our first at-risk map, meaning that Verruckt is still the safest map we have come across so far, and meaning that Nacht der Untoten is now no longer the lowest ranked map, and actually Shi No Numa has taken its place. Like I said, I'm not too surprised about this, considering we are in a corpse infested swamp. It does not surprise me at all that this has become the lowest ranked map. But do not worry, there are plenty of other maps still to be ranked throughout this series. And just so we know, the next map will actually not be the Reese, but we will actually be moving on to none other than Shi No Numa. And the reason for this is I still have the Giant do as well. And since I don't actually have World at War or the original Reese on my PC, I'm just going to count them both as the same map and do the Giant. Let's be honest, there's no changes between the Reese and the Giant realistically, so there's no point me doing it twice. So to save myself some time, I'm going to move on to Black Ops 1. And let's be honest, I know you guys want me to get onto the newer Black Ops maps, so that is exactly what we're going to do. And having seen a lot of comments, I know you guys are really excited for Black Ops 2. So this just puts us one step closer to that goal. But of course, if you want to see me reach Black Ops 2 in our safety check series, then I need you guys to leave a like on the video and comment what map you are looking forward to seeing the most. And if you've gone that far, why not hit that subscribe button as well? We are so close to hitting 1,000 subscribers. Hell, I might have even hit it by the time this video comes out. But if I haven't, hit that subscribe button because we want to hit that target. But apart from that, that is the end of today's video. I hope you have enjoyed, and I hope to see you all very soon in the next video.